Are you secretly missing the hidden signs your brain has been sending you quietly, signaling cognitive decline while you brush them off as just aging or a bad day, unaware that these subtle warnings could be the first steps down a path you can still fight if you know what to look for? You've been forgetting names more often, but what's alarming isn't the occasional slip. It's when you find yourself standing in a familiar room, unable to remember why you walked in not once, but again and again, as if your mind's map has faded at the edges. And if you've started struggling to follow conversations, losing the thread when multiple people are speaking, zoning out even with close friends, this isn't just distraction. It's a quiet unraveling of the brain's ability to process auditory information, a sign often dismissed until it's too late. Maybe you've noticed a change in your judgment, like giving large sums to charities you barely know, or falling for scams you once would have spotted instantly because declining cognitive control subtly chips away at your risk assessment, turning your once sharp discernment into dangerous naivety. And perhaps your sense of direction has begun betraying you routes you've driven for decades now. Feel unfamiliar landmarks seem to disappear, leaving you anxious behind the wheel or avoiding trips entirely. A creeping spatial disorientation that speaks volumes about parts of your brain quietly faltering. But what's more hidden, more insidious, is when your mood starts to shift without reason. You've always been easygoing, but lately you're irritable, quick to anger, or sinking into apathy, a hollowing of interest in hobbies you once loved. These emotional changes, whispering that something deeper than sadness is taking hold. Neurological, not just psychological. And if you found yourself repeating stories to loved ones convinced you haven't told them before, even as their faces tighten in awkward smiles, that subtle repetition laughed off at family gatherings could be your brain struggling to file short-term memories, quietly swapping present for past without your knowing. And then there's the handwriting, a sign so overlooked, yet so telling your once steady script grows cramped. Letters crowd together, words tilt, oddly reflecting the brain's declining motor planning, a symptom shared with early Parkinson's, but also a warning flag for other cognitive declines you wouldn't connect unless you knew. Or perhaps it's the way you struggle to manage your finances. Now bills left unpaid, checks written twice, balances untracked. Your brain's executive functions faltering behind the scene, turning routine tasks into tangled puzzles. And don't ignore the shrinking vocabulary, the pause mid-sentence as you search for a common word, the frustration rising as it teases the edge of your tongue, but stays out of reach because losing access to words you've known all your life isn't just a senior moment. It's a signal that your brain's language centers are quietly dimming their lights. Even your sense of smell dulling without congestion or allergies could be waving a red flag. Research shows that diminished smell is an early silent herald of cognitive decline, a sensory signal often ignored while the brain's deeper changes creep forward. But the most chilling sign might be the one no one tells you when you stop recognizing these signs in yourself. When your confidence in your memory remains stubborn, despite mounting mistakes, a phenomenon called anosognosia, the brain's defense mechanism against its own slipping grip, keeping you unaware even as those around you start to worry. Each of these signs alone might seem harmless, brushed aside with a laugh or an excuse, but together they weave a quiet, invisible net tightening around your daily life, pulling you slowly away from the clarity and independence you've known unless you're willing to see them for what they are: not inevitable, not untreatable, but urgent warnings demanding your attention. Because your brain's silent whispers are waiting for you to listen to act, to fight for every moment of lucidity still within your reach. So what will you do with this knowledge now? Knowing the warning signs have been there all along, hoping you'd finally see them before they steal what's left of your time. And if you've caught yourself drifting away during reading, rereading the same line without absorbing its meaning, blaming tiredness or distraction, you need to know this too could be part of a hidden pattern. Your brain's processing speed slowing beneath the surface, making once simple comprehension harder to sustain, and this mental fatigue bleeding into daily life as an invisible weight. You may have noticed a growing struggle to multitask, once able to juggle conversations while cooking. Now feeling overwhelmed by just following a recipe, the layers of tasks that used to dance in parallel, now collapsing into confusion. A breakdown of executive function that chips away at independence. And while you might dismiss your misplacing of keys, phone, wallet as normal, the pattern matters. Are you finding them in stranger places like the freezer or bathroom cabinet? And do these mistakes happen more often with less memory of the moment they were lost? This is the brain's spatial memory faltering, a breakdown in the internal map that once kept everything organized invisibly for you. Perhaps you've noticed your vision feels different, somehow not blurry, but scanning a room doesn't feel as fluid. Reading crowded text feels tiring, a subtle decline in visual, spatial processing that makes the world slightly harder to navigate without you realizing the extra effort. And then comes social withdrawal. Not a conscious choice, but the subtle exhaustion of keeping up, leading to canceled plans, shrinking circles, retreating from conversations you once loved, as the cognitive load quietly becomes heavier, making engagement feel like climbing uphill, even with lifelong friends. Maybe you've begun sleeping more during the day, finding it harder to stay awake through afternoon hours despite restful nights. A creeping hypersomnia that research shows may accompany neurodegenerative changes long before more obvious symptoms appear. And while no single moment screams alarm together, these signs form a constellation pointing toward a brain that needs attention, intervention, hope, not resignation. The risk isn't simply forgetting names or misplacing objects. It's the slow erosion of the very self you've spent a lifetime building, piece by piece being chipped away, unless you confront these warnings with the seriousness they deserve. Your brain is not beyond help, not locked into an inevitable decline. Neuroplasticity. The brain's remarkable ability to adapt and reroute still lives within you, but only if you act while the window is open. So the question remains, will you stay silent, brushing these signs aside until they've tightened their grip, or will you face them now courageously, armed with awareness and a determination to hold on to every precious thread of memory, judgment, identity you still have? The choice is urgent and the path forward is in your hands.